The seventh day of the Netball World Cup, the first to be staged on African soil. The Spar Proteas were unable to make the semi-finals of the tournament in Cape Town. South Africa are in action today in a fifth-place playoff in the midst of a crippling taxi strike in the mother city. eNCA Hloni Mtimkulu is there and joins us live. A very good afternoon to you, Hloni. I just mentioned the taxi strike. Has it actually affected the tournament at all?
Yeah, Nandi, so I wonder if the taxi strike and also the Proteas being knocked out last night or yesterday has done anything to the attendance. Certainly now with the Proteas playing in about an hour's time, there are people coming in, but it's a trickle of people compared to earlier on in the tournament, and certainly that opening weekend when they were playing, there were so many more people coming in at all times of the day. So I wonder if that has an effect at all between the taxi strike as well as the Proteas not playing, well, not being in contention anymore. But someone who knows about maybe a little bit about the taxi strike and attendance as well as just the general organization of this tournament is the tournament's director, Priscilla Masisi. And Priscilla, just maybe firstly, we spoke earlier about the taxi strike and how that could or possibly have affected things. Just talk to us about that, please.
Yes, indeed, it has affected our attendance. In the morning, we had almost 3,000 tickets that were sold, but the attendance was only around 800. So it is affecting our attendance.
And then also in terms of the staff that is working here and the volunteers as well, just was that also affected, or how was that affected?
It has affected them. Yesterday, we had about 12 volunteers that couldn't go home, but we had to make alternative arrangements for them so that they can be accommodated at the hotels. But this morning, the attendance was not that bad. We could manage to get everybody on the gates and also inside the courts, so we are covered and secured.
I know I have strict instructions not to ask about the Proteas and how they've performed because you're part of the organizing team. Just in terms of the lessons that you've learned about organizing such a big event, the first one on African soil in the tournament's history, just what sort of challenges have you faced and what have you learned about things going forward?
I think one of the challenges that we have experienced is regarding the ticketing. But what also impacted on the ticketing was also the issue, the fact that the seating inside is not a fixed sitting standing. You have to load in the seats, and at some point also we changed the seating arrangements because we wanted to accommodate more. And also from the quad series, we realized that the way the seating was done, there was not enough space for movement, especially behind the team benches. So we had to reconfigure everything. So that also impacted on the processing of the tickets, because that's why when you bought tickets in December, you couldn't get a seat allocation, because that configuration impacted on the number of seats that you are going to have available. So that's one of the challenges. But I think going forward, it will be important that as a country or as a continent, maybe we should have a sports arena where you are not going to start building from zero, because with us now, you had to empty up the CTICC hall and then you start from zero. Yes.
And then maybe just lastly, with the semi-finals coming up tomorrow, just you talk about that seating allocation. Has that been sorted out for tomorrow? And also maybe with the Proteas now being out of contention, has that affected maybe ticket sales or just what you think will happen in terms of attendance?
No, in terms of attendance, the ticket sale is currently on for the semi-finals of tomorrow and the placing matches of Sunday morning. We are sitting at around 80%, but the finals we don't even have one seat available.
And in the ticket allocation, you talked about having to rearrange things. Is that fine for this weekend?
Because we're not going to be changing anything. Remember, the impact was when you started, because now the seating is not changing, so we are fine. All we are doing now, we are rearranging our gold section, especially on the C stand, so that we can accommodate more people in there. So that's the only thing we are doing, but it's sorted. The tickets for session 29 are out and with the seat numbers.
Lovely. Thank you. We leave it there. Thank you for the insights on just the arrangements, the ticketing, even the taxi strike and how that has affected the Netball World Cup. That was the tournament director of the Netball World Cup, Priscilla Masisi. Nandi.
Yeah, Hloni, generally things have gone pretty well in terms of organisation, but it's always important to learn from some of the little glitches. Thank you so much for that, Hloni. That was Hloni Mtimkulu in Cape Town for the Netball World Cup.